Supermarket Encyclopedia. When I was 7, I fought the Battle of the Library, the little Carnegie building in Port Arthur, and got permission to use the adult shelves after I read my juveniles on the steps and brought them back in 15 minutes. So I was delighted with the special offer at the Piggly Wiggly store. With every $20 purchase, we got 1 volume of a cheap encyclopedia. I think we managed 4 or 5 volumes before the display changed to Melmac dishes. I picked up odd bits of learning about the Aardvark and Jane Addams, Eugene Debs and Claude Debussy, not to mention Dagobert, King of the Franks. I don't know what waited at the end of the alphabet. X, Y, and Z was a short volume. I remember my shock at Sherlock Holmes, who didn't know that the earth revolves around the sun. He told Watson that the brain is like an attic, and he didn't want to stuff his with lumber. It's too late for such advice. I scanned the odd magazines in the doctor's waiting room and scrutinized the science columns in the daily paper, but I don't dare watch public television. The family won't play Trivial Pursuit with me. My attic is very full, and the 26 packing crates of the alphabet are overflowing. Humanities building corridor. "Look, he has a little skull in his palm," a passerby said to me, pointing to one of the high-grade reproductions in the corridor. Holman Hunt's The Hireling Shepherd, with its man and woman sprawled in a field. It's true, there's a death's-head moth that he's trying to show her, but she's deep in a sensual trance. Their skins have a rich color like bosc pears ripened in the sun. A lamb sits on her lap. She leans against the young man's shoulder. "Ah, but have you seen this?" I ask, pointing to the picture on the opposite wall, Bruegel's landscape with the fall of Icarus. I indicate the corpse in the painting, which lies in a bush beside the furrows the farmer is plowing. We can just glimpse its white head in the upper left. My big book on Bruegel doesn't mention the dead man, though it quotes the German proverb, "No plow is stopped for the dying man," and applies it to the famous legs of Icarus thrashing in the water. The famous poems by Auden and Williams don't mention the dead man either. This print is taken from the painting in Brussels, but there's another, privately owned. One may be a copy of the other, or both may be copies of a lost original, none of which lightens the proverb or leaves us at ease with the painting, however many removes from it we stand. Even the shepherdess is looking away from Bruegel's painting as she accepts the embrace of the young man with death in his hand. Open windows. Where Chris has land by the river, the deer jump his fences to eat the bark off the fruit trees. He talks about making venison sausages, but he tears down poachers' blinds and plans higher fences to keep out hunters and prey. He contemplates the best forage to plant for the bees in his hives. Clover will replace the canola left behind by the farmer. The bees hardly notice him, a god in a white suit, curing epidemics, lamenting that every time he works for the hive, some bees are crushed by the lid. He needs a resident hermit to sit in a deer blind, working out the moral equations of land ownership. At his house on the north side of town, he has a concrete Buddha in the yard, with a lap full of seeds for the birds, overflowing onto the ground. Chris's plot of basil is dying because the ants have tunneled the soil, but he can't tamper with them. By eating the nectar of the peonies, they let the big blooms open for the bees to make their rounds. Once in a while, the wind will carry the sweet scent through an open window. Superman in Physiotherapy. Everyone winds up in physio sooner or later. Leading us back into the rooms, Ed, the therapist, calls my wife and me the dynamic duo. No, we're Superman and Superwoman, though I can't quite bend iron bars with my sore shoulder, and she can't leap tall buildings. I think we hit a cloud of kryptonite somewhere on our last trip through the galaxy. We lie romantically side by side on separate beds and separate cubicles, waiting for the heating pad, the ice pack, and the ultrasound applied by Ed, alias Lex Luthor. I overhear an athlete in another cubicle talking about the Ironman competitions. He swims, cycles, and runs, all in pain from his bad knee. If even the Ironman shows a little rust, the man of steel shouldn't be too embarrassed lying here with a heating pad, waiting for the gadget that sings a healing song just beyond his range of superhearing. Port Loyal, Nova Scotia. In a town this small, you can see the constable stop his van mid-street to chat with a jaywalking friend, creating a 3-car traffic jam. A young man will drive 20 miles to buy a copy of Playboy because the clerks at both drugstores are friends of his mother. A city visitor having a haircut thinks World War III has started when the volunteer fire alarm goes off and he's left alone in an empty shop. Johnston Canyon. The cave at the lower falls has 2 openings, one overlooking the waterfall. It is not the cave of 2-handled jars with an entrance for men and another for gods, the cave where Odysseus woke in his sweet country without recognizing it. I know this country. Its name is a roar of water as the white column pours into the blue-green pool. Down at Brewster Creek, water runs languidly into a sump for orchids, moss, and moose. There the blue-blossoming butterwort eats insects that land on its sticky leaves. But here the water runs clean and true, and thinking how the deep canyon was formed, I remember the children's game. An open palm, paper, fingers in a V, scissors, a clenched fist, rock. Scissors cut paper, rock breaks scissors, paper covers rock, and I want to add a 4th gesture, fingers waving in ripples. Water rusts scissors, water melts paper, water cuts rock.